Hello and welcome to the next edition of Aberystwyth Town in Conversation With. I'm delighted to welcome my guest this evening, who is Geraint Passmore. Geraint, how's things?
Oh, very good, thanks. Thanks for welcoming me on and having me part of this. Very excited to be here, mate.
Great to have you involved. And what are you up to at the moment? How you spending lockdown?
Well, just moved back home from living abroad a few months ago. So I'm now back home in Cardiff and teaching in a primary school in Barry called St. Barrick. So yeah, settling back in. The weather's a bit colder than I've used to the last 5 years, but yeah, getting there. It's nice to be home with friends and family.
Yeah, and is this the first lockdown that you've experienced, or did you have to go through one in Dubai as well?
Yeah, it's a bit of a roller coaster of a few months actually. So back in March, like everyone across the world, we had a lockdown, and quite a strict one actually. Not in comparison maybe, but we had rules that might not have been here, but we had to stick to over there. We had to get a permit to leave the house and just to buy our groceries for the week. If our cars were caught by the police, we'd get fined straight away. So it was very strict. You had to wear your mask as soon as you left your apartment, which is, it was a struggle actually. I really found that few months, I felt a million miles away from home, and found the lockdown particularly hard. It's just nice being home, just have that more of freedom, like the greenery. I can go for a run, I can go for a jog without having to kind of be confined to a small space like I was living in Dubai. So yeah, all in all, it's been a tough few months, but glad to be home and, as I say, close to family and friends.
Yeah. Well, we're all glad that you're back in the UK as well, and looking forward to meeting up when we can to have a beer and a catch up as well.
Definitely. Well, that's what I want to do more than anything. Go back to Aber and have a drink in the DS stand and support the boys. So hopefully in the next few months we'll be able to do that.
Yeah, it'll be good to see you, mate. It'll be good to see you. So what I want to do first of all is just take you right back to the start and have a conversation with your first steps in football, how you fell in love with the game, and what were your early influences?
Yeah, so I basically started in football from the day I remember. I was kicking a ball in school, outside in the garden on my own, or with my family, or my sister would be often in goal, or my dad would be chasing me with the ball. So from a small age, I've been playing football. My early influences, had a few. There's a chap called Gary Lewis at the Earth, had a huge influence on myself. And I know he coached players like Aaron Ramsey years later. And then he kind of pushed me towards playing for a team called Pentyrch, which is a local club. And then there were a couple of the Samsons family in Cardiff. Mark Samson and Derek Samson had a huge influence on me when I was kind of going through my teenagers. And Mark obviously went on to manage the English women team, and he's with Stevenage at the moment. And he was a big influence. He'd taught me through the game and through a lens that maybe I hadn't thought of football before. Look over your shoulder. I was all about running, and I know some people might not be able to imagine that now, but I was quite a fit player, not fat player, a fit player back in the day. And Mark, you say you used to run too much. Settle down, have a think, have a look, and play what's in front of you, and don't rush things, which I used to do. So Mark and Gary were huge influences on me in my early career.
Mm-hmm. And was there any particular team that you supported as you were growing up?
Yeah, I was an avid Liverpool supporter. My father was born in North Wales, so you're either red or blue in North Wales, and Dad, thankfully, was a red. So supported Liverpool since the day I remember as well. So I was a supporter of Cardiff City as well, and I do want them to do well. But if Cardiff played Liverpool, I'd be wearing red that day as well, which is, I'm not sure if people would be happy with that. But
were you actually back in the UK to enjoy the celebrations in the summer?
No, I was still abroad, but definitely enjoyed the celebrations, even though they're milder than they would be maybe usually. But we definitely celebrated out in Dubai with friends and a few shandies.
Yeah, brilliant. So let's move on and talk about your first actual move to Aberystwyth as a town, going to the university. What was it that you studied at the university?
Yeah, so I moved and did geography. So Aberystwyth is a huge attractions. My family, mum and dad went there as students, and my sister went there as a student. So I followed them there. So I ended up doing geography as a degree, and then I returned a few years later to my teacher training.
Okay, brilliant. And we can't mention Aberystwyth University without mentioning UWAFC. As I played a couple of games for the fourth team myself. Obviously not anywhere near the same standard as you, but I had a couple of games in 2007 myself, and obviously know about some of the extracurricular activities that go on with that particular football team. So did you play right from the start for the university as well?
Yeah, so I think we went up for a week before the university started with the sports week, and we played every day, and I was part of the football team then from week one, from day one. And, I had a fantastic time, friends that I'll have forever. University, people say that's probably your best footballing time. I've got two to compete with that. So, but honestly, I've got some great memories, great friends all over the world right now. So fantastic time, going to the Canes after the game and talking to Jock about how wonderful a player Jock was back in the day, and Geraint, you'll never be good enough for Aberystwyth Town. So no, we had a fantastic time. The social life was brilliant, and made some lifelong friends, as I said.
Yeah, and did you manage to go on any of the infamous tours?
I didn't. I'm not sure if that's a lucky thing or unlucky. I know a few of them went to, somewhere in Spain.
Salou, was it?
Yeah, maybe Salou, yeah. I think I'm probably glad I didn't go there with some of the stories I did, but I know many that did. So what stays on tour? What happens on tour stays on tour.
Absolutely, so. And we'll say no more. So, I say we'll say no more. Have you got any stories from your time with the university football team that you can share?
Do you know what? The huge games for us were back in the day. They had the reserve sides in the Spa Mid Wales. So you had Welsh Pool, you had Newtown, you had Aber, I should say, and those games between the university and our reserves were the highlight of the calendar. We'd have hundreds of the students, on Blan or Vic Fields supporting us, or down in Park Ave, and just those huge games. I remember we played a cup semi-final, I think, down in Brandolai. The pitch was beautiful, lovely day. Again, lots of students watching, and I think we went to penalties, and both sets of teams missed a few penalties. And my friend Mike Kane, I think they're still searching for the ball now. Struck it over the change rooms for miles. But yeah, just the rivalry. But then we'd see the boys in town itself, and there'd be a great camaraderie throughout. So yeah, those games between the Aberystwyth Town reserves and the university were probably the highlights. Yeah,
I do actually personally think that's something that's maybe missing from the pyramid in these days, the reserve teams, because it did give the opportunity for teams like UWA to play, not only play at Park Avenue, but play guys who maybe are just coming back from injury in the Welsh Premier. I do think it's something that's missing at the moment.
Yeah, and I'd agree to that. So we had people up in their games throughout the Mid Wales for those games, and kind of gives them that a platform to play well in front of managers that essentially they might not play in front of every week. So, and as you said, the pitches are better at Park Avenue, at Welsh Pool, at Newtown, as they were. And that huge passion towards those games and the Friday night lights. It's fantastic. So yeah, I think that's missing to some degree. There was always that that discussion, should they be in the pyramid because they'd stop other teams going up. It's a difficult one to balance, but I definitely enjoyed my time playing against the reserve sides, and definitely up my game to try and prove Jock wrong more than anything.
Well, talking of proving Mr. Kane wrong, you did sign for Aberystwyth Town eventually in 2006, I believe. So how did that move come about?
Well, do you know what, it's a funny little story actually. So I always went to Canes after a Saturday, and I said I'd score a goal, Jock, and we won 4-2, or I'd be on the back of the I'd be a little comment in the paper saying Passmore scores, and Jock would ask me, and he said, right, Geraint, I'm going to come and watch you play for the university. So there he is on a Saturday morning. Saturday afternoon watching us. I'm not sure against who, and I had one of these stinkers of a game. I just nothing went right. The bounce didn't go right. My shots were terrible. My touch was just not up to standard, and And Jock after the game just came up to me in Keynes with our 30-piece sausage hot dogs. Said, Geraint, I've come to watch you, and I don't think you're up to standard. And fair play, he gave me a review of the game, and that was that. So I actually thought that was the end of my chances with Abertown. But funnily enough, we played against Welshborough reserves a few weeks later, and I played well against them. And Tommy Morgan was manager at the first team at the time. So he, in fact, contacted me over the summer and asked, do you want to go and have a trial game against Merthyr? So I went to Merthyr and played there, and played quite well. And funnily enough, I had a phone call from your old man, Brian Coyne, on I don't know what it was, on a Tuesday, Wednesday night, saying, I've heard you've had a game for Welsh Pool. Do you fancy a trial game for us on Saturday? So yes, I'd love to. Drove up to Aberystwyth on the Saturday, and we played Tranmere Rovers in a friendly, and on the pitch was looking fantastic. The team was full of stars from what I'd be watching from the stands, and luckily enough I had a good game. I think I scored a volley, and afterwards your man asked me to sign, and I signed there and then. So but funny enough, with Jock, then on my debut we played against Llanelli, and I had quite a good game, and Jock came up to me in front of my parents afterwards, and he apologised. So
wow.
So he said, you're actually okay. You're not too bad. You can make the Abertown team. So yeah, it was a nice little story to finish that with.
So which players were you playing with in that particular Aberystwyth Town team when you first came into the club?
It was a brilliant team. So we had midfield, we had Sherbs, we had Barry, we had Sean James, Freddie, Paddy up top, Honky in goal, who else? Guy Lewis, fantastic professional players, Stewie Roberts and Matty Roberts. I think Swanee came a bit later, but he joined soon after. And just the professionalism of everyone. The training, I'd never seen anything like it. I think sometimes we were working harder in a training game. The five-a-side, like the Roberts brothers, they couldn't stand losing a five-a-side on a Tuesday night. And then Sean James and Freddie, I'm sure like so many times they had to stop fights in the little five-a-side arena at the back, because we were playing for £1 or something each, and it was the most competitive thing I'd ever seen, and it just raised my level. I enjoyed playing with them, and had to be good enough to play with these lads. And I think Swanee then came in, and he raised the bar again. His positioning sense, the way he spoke about the game, and just made everyone on it stay on the toes, and had to improve. So what a great time it was.
Yeah. So talk us through that first season then. And I know we're going to pay particular attention to one match at Farrow Road as well.
Well, maybe, yeah. Do you know what? It was a fantastic few months. I think maybe 2 months of the season, I had a good start. I played against the Llanellis, against the Spanish influence of Geraint, and they were fantastic. We drew to them. We played Airbus, and I scored a goal, got off the mark. So I was feeling good. I was feeling fitter than I'd been for a long time. And I think we played against Bangor up in Farrow Road, and I banging on the change room doors, the fans. There was such a noise that I hadn't experienced really before. We had a good support at Aber, and always a bit of noise, but the Bangor faithful at Farrow Road were fantastic, and what an atmosphere they created.
A proper football ground.
Proper football club, yeah. A day like that, you realise, you can play Welsh League football, but Welsh Premiership with those fans, with your Rills, your Bangor fans, and your Aber fans mixed. It's a great atmosphere. So going up to Bangor, started as nervous, I was worried, and just one of those days that kind of everything clicked. I was saying earlier about that game with Jock watching was terrible, but this day was something else was happening, and luckily the ball fell to me, and I had a shot from about 30, 40 yards. I think it ended up as 50 yards in Keynes a few hours later, but just struck it, and the wind took it. Windy day at Farrow Road.
It was nothing to do with the wind. It was all about the strike. Yeah,
it wasn't bad actually. I'm quite proud of that one, and I must have watched that one on repeat for about 3 hours on the way home. But just everything went right, and it was a great buzz. We won 4-1, and the bus trip home was just brilliant.
Yeah, I've been part of a few of those bus trips myself. They're certainly memorable, aren't they?
Well, do you know what? There's nothing like it. I think the important thing with Aber, and the lucky thing with Aberystwyth and potentially Newtown and the teams in Mid Wales, that a lot of the players live around the area, local boys. And I think with Aber, it was so important to have that core. I still believe it's so important to have that core of players from the local area. And we had 15 lads on the bus going back to Aberystwyth, and we were all celebrating. We were all having a drink, a sing song. Paddy was singing Uwalele at the back. Rich would be singing some absolute nonsense, and we'd all be singing about Aberystwyth and our kind of allegiance towards the team, and just having a bit of camaraderie. And then the Roberts brothers and Swanee would be on the bus back to Aber and having a great sing song. And I think Dave Jones was there at one point, and he was singing some hymns, and everyone just got involved. It was just such a community club, which was so powerful about Aberystwyth Town.
Yeah. And unfortunately, at the end of that season, you suffered a very bad injury at Llanelli.
Yeah, it was a strange one. I remember just tracking Craig Williams down I was trying to track him. He was, going further and further away from me, but I was trying to track him, and all of a sudden my foot just got stuck in the mud, and it just kind of turned, and I snapped my fibula, and I was out for most of the year then. And I'm never one of these that enjoys going to the gym and going through rehab, and I look back now and regret the fact that I didn't, but I wish I had gone back and do the proper rehab and got back into the swing of things. But it seems to kind of every year then I'd have another niggly injury with my knee, and so I was devastated to get injured at Llanelli, but it was still great to be part of the team and training when I could, and get down and support the boys, and it was a magical time, really.
And how long did that recovery actually take then in the end?
It was probably the best part of 6 months to a year. I think I would start playing the next season again, but I was in and out of injuries then for a few years, and I'm still suffering now with dodgy knees. So it's probably plagued me for the last 7-8 years, really. In and out of different injuries. And as I said, I didn't really go through the proper rehab, which I wish I had done. But every year I seem to have a little knocks. 4 or 5 weeks here, hamstring injuries and things. So I'd probably put it down to that leg break. A leg break then suffered, moved me to have these other injuries. Yeah.
But as you say, you did make it back for the start of the next season, which actually started with a pre-season friendly at home to Everton, which you played a part in setting up a famous goal for Luke Sherborne.
Oh, what a brilliant day that was! The whole stand, the sides, people on the little hill, watching from all angles. I'm not sure what the capacity at Park Avenue is or was, but I'm sure they were over capacity that day. And some fantastic players on show for Everton, and Jutskovic, I think, was playing up front, and there was a lad in midfield. I never found his name, but I've never followed his career. But there was a lad in midfield, a Portuguese or Spanish lad, was just ran the show. But we had our own Luke Sherborne, who stepped up with a 20-yard volley, which was just incredible. I played with some fantastic players, but Sherb's technique was second to none, and don't know how he picked that. There's a great image of Sherbs smashing that volley, and it's beautiful. I hope don't share that bit with Sherbs. He's got a big enough head, I think.
So as you say, the next season you were suffering with injuries. And then at the end of that season, you moved on from Aberystwyth Town and Aberystwyth as your home as well. And who did you go to for 2008, 2009?
Yeah, so after Aberystwyth, a couple of years of university, I went back to Cardiff and started working in a bank, and ended up training with Neath for the best part of the summer. Well, it seemed like a 3-4-month pre-season, which seemed to go on forever. And we was training 3 times a week, and I've never trained so hard, and I think we overtrained, if there's such a thing, especially at that level. And I think we had burnout before even starting the season. I think I played 1 game for Neath, I think against Aberystwyth, which is probably one of the lowest points of my career, going back to Aberystwyth with Neath, and we got hammered 6-2.
Was that the
But
first
yeah,
game?
it was.
Yeah, the very first game on a Friday night, if I remember it well.
Yeah, it was a terrible game for us, and one of those that I was just getting, like Barry and Sherbs were right on top of me. They wouldn't give me any space, and I couldn't do anything for Neath, and it wasn't a good fit for me, Neath, and I soon moved to Carmarthen and joined up with Tommy Morgan and a few of the Aberystwyth lads actually. Rich Morgan ended up there, and him, myself, I think Claire Dan, Honky ended up playing there with Mikey Lewis. Came to join a bit further on down the line, I think. That was a great experience again. Tommy, a very different manager to your father, but heart on the sleeve, and learned a lot from him as well. And some great characters down there. Nick Harry was playing, Rayo at the back, some great influences as well, and on my own football career again. Just love playing for Carmarthen. What a great club Carmarthen were as well. Quite similar to Aberystwyth in so many respects. A great support off the field. Didn't mention the sport off the field in Aberystwyth earlier, but fantastic from the groundsman to the chairman. Same with Carmarthen. People like Gio. We lost Gio last year, which is an amazing person, and reflected so many people like himself around different clubs in Wales, and the cornerstone of the hearts of each club. And Gio did so much for me, and was kind of one of the main reasons I enjoyed going down there was spending time with himself and the supporters afterwards. At places like Carmarthen and Aberystwyth. So
from Carmarthen, was it after Carmarthen that you moved back to Aber for a brief spell, or did that come in between?
Yeah, so I went back to Aberystwyth to do my teacher training. It was kind of the obvious choice with regards to where to do my course, and then the football kind of coincided then with joining back at Aber. But by then I had a few injuries again, so it was another season where I'd get fit and play a game or two, and then on the sidelines again, which was a very frustrating time for me because I wanted to play at the highest level in Wales again, and just didn't kind of work out as I'd liked. I was always, trying. I was a few weeks away from getting fit, and then I'd get fit and get another injury, which is very frustrating for me.
But after you left Aber, you moved back down to South Wales, and you joined Pontypridd. And,
I did join Ponty, but that was a bit later. I joined Aberystwyth, Ento Aberystwyth at the time, and had a great season there with some great characters. With David Morgan as the manager, director, CEO, all rolled in one. We had a psychologist. We had Matty Davis down there. We had Dean Morris. With some great players there. Some stalwarts of the game in the Welsh leagues. Danny Street, Danny Hooper. We had flair players, but people that could win the league. And our dream at the time, and we wanted to win the league and join the Welsh Prem, and we had everything going in the right direction, and we won the league. And then some kind of building problems with the floodlights not up in time for to be accepted into the Welsh Prem, so which was a frustrating time for all involved. And I know David and the team put so much effort and money into the project, which is a very frustrating time then, and it kind of fell from there. Actually, Aberystwyth seemed to, I think they've changed Aberdare now, and find themselves in a League 2 or League 3 of the Welsh pyramid, which is a shame.
There's too many clubs that happens to. I mean, you just look at STM Sports last summer, and the decline that's happened. Well, I don't even think they're going anymore, which is a real shame when you consider their on-field achievements. It sounds like something happened to yourself.
It's a difficult one, and it's a difficult one to manage. I see people complaining on Twitter and social media, and rightly so. These teams have put so much effort and heart into each club, and and fall at the final hurdle when they're getting frustrations by having their ground improvements not up to the level, or I'm not sure the ins and outs of STM, and I wouldn't want to comment too much, but sometimes it's so hard to reach the levels of expectations, and when you have to have a ground and you've got 300 seats, and you don't fill them, it's a bit of a pointless task. But on the other hand, you want to improve the Welsh Premier standard, and the pitches, a lot of them are 4G these days, and the game is improving, so you want to see that happen as well. So
after Aberystwyth, you moved on to Pontypridd, and a remarkable experience with a trip out to play against Valencia.
Yeah, Pontypridd was another brilliant project, and I was kind of lucky to have these fantastic clubs and played for some fantastic teams. And Pontypridd was the same. Dominic and Damien Broad, and they put so much effort and time and money into the club, and kind of brought it from nothing. They were languishing down the bottom of Division 3 at the time, and I got a message from Dominic and asked if I could come and help out. And I think it was 5-6 games before the end of the season, and luckily enough, we went down to Newcastle Emlyn. I think it was the last game of the season, and we had to win to stay up. And luckily, I swung a left foot from 20 yards and ended up going in, and we stayed up. And unfortunately, Newcastle Emlyn went down. And from there, kind of, we went from strength to strength. We built then the next season. And as you said, we had these fantastic trips. We actually went to Valencia and Deportivo in subsequent years. Yeah, and fantastic. Dominic and Damien are passionate, and they had this drive to build the kind of rapport of the local community, but also the brand of Pontypridd, and build it into a force again, which it was back in the day. And it's such a big town. They should have a team that's challenging for Welsh Premiership honours. So yeah, luckily enough, there was a conversation between Dominic and one of his old colleagues at Valencia, and it kind of snowballed. We had 250, 300 people from all over the UK come and follow us, Pontypridd to Spain. And Colin Murray then on TalkSport came to, he was on the radio giving out freebies and trips to Valencia. And it was brilliant, playing with your mates, dressed up as, we're wearing, Pontypridd gear, and throughout Valencia, looking professional, and as a professional team should be. And great experience, training on their training grounds and playing on their first team pitch was brilliant.
Yeah, fantastic. So you actually played on the Mestalla?
We didn't play on the Mestalla yet, unfortunately not. I mean, sorry, the Secunda team, or the team, the B team. The first team, that was a bit of a lie there. We played their second team, and a lot of the lads playing in the Secunda B division in Spain, and some fantastic players. And I think Dominic and Damien had an agreement with Deportivo somehow, and if we kept it to 5-0 or something less, they'd invite us to Deportivo the year after. So we kept it to a 3 or a 4-0. It could have been 24-0, but it was backs to the wall, and we defended fantastically. And then we went to Deportivo the next year and played a similar team, and I think we actually did a bit better, 2-0 maybe. Fantastic experiences, and ones I'll cherish forever.
And taking those two grounds into account, which was better, those two or Park Avenue?
You can't compare. On a Friday night under lights at Park Avenue, the fans streaming in. Everyone. That your mates are on the side, and you have a drink with them after, and you have a laugh and a joke, and they take the mick if you've had a bad touch. But it was fantastic nights at Park Ave.
Yeah, special, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
So moving on from one great experience to another, you've touched on earlier, teaching and living abroad.
Yeah, so last 5 years I've actually spent in Dubai. I've had a teaching career, started actually in Aberystwyth, in Ysgol Geraint Aberystwyth, and a fantastic 6 months there, and tutelage of Gareth James, and moved back to Cardiff and took an opportunity and went to Dubai for 5 years, which was another fantastic experience, which I'd recommend to anyone. There's a big world out there, and it'd be great to experience some of it. So I was lucky enough to go for 5 years and play football out there again.
Fantastic. And that brings us up to the present day, and you moved back to Cardiff this summer. Are you playing football again when regulations allow?
Well, we've difficult question to answer, because I'm back in Cardiff, and I've teamed up with a good friend of mine, Sam Holdsworth, that he's been managing there for about 4 or 5 years now at Newport City, often mistaken for Newport County. We're not Newport County, unfortunately, but I've teamed up with Sam and the team. Lots of good friends are playing there. We're playing at Spitty Park, but as you know, in the time we're in at the moment, it's been difficult to train and to play. So we've been training a little bit here and there where we can, but finding the restrictions very difficult to get out training together. I think we went up to to Newport one Saturday, and the Monday Newport were in lockdown and Cardiff weren't. So we had half the team able to train together and half the team weren't. So yeah, it's very difficult. But I see myself with Newport for the duration of the season, and hopefully we will get a start of the season at some point. But I'm not holding my breath.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's just the way it is at the moment, isn't it, throughout the country? Well, thanks very much for that, Geraint. And just to finish, I just want to go through a few quick-fire questions that we got across to you earlier.
The best bit.
Best player you played with at Aberystwyth Town?
Oh, it was a tight one between two people, Stuart Roberts and Luke Sherbon, but I'll go with Sherbs.
Okay. Worst trainer?
Was a few there as well. I think Andy Evans. He worked hard, but his knees and his shins were getting in the way in front of his feet. So I'll say Andy Evans, not for want of trying, but brilliant guy and a brilliant player. But
another one who joined the banter on the bus, if I remember.
Oh, brilliant! Yeah, great guy. Yeah, great guy, great fun. Just a great atmosphere always without it.
So that leads nicely into the next question. What's your best Aberystwyth Town memory?
Come on, there's only one, that Farrow Road, that 40-yard screamer, 50-yard screamer. That must be, that'll stay with me forever. And thanks to you as well for finding the footage. I haven't seen it for a few years until you found the footage of that game, so thank you.
It only took me 14 years to get it across to you.
I've watched it quite a few times since then and showed it to many in person already. So thank you.
Luckily now it's digital. You can't wear out the tape rewinding it.
Exactly.
On VHS to start.
Exactly. Thank you.
So what was? I think we know the answer to this, but your worst Aberystwyth Town memory?
Yeah, it must be that game with Neath. Returning to Park Avenue, playing against my friends, not playing very well. Sherbs and Barry absolutely demolishing me in midfield. It wasn't a pleasant game. I was getting, your Barry Morgan treatment, a little pinch behind the leg and the little kicks and the flicks here and there. He was a horrible player to play against, but great player to play with.
Sum up your time with ABBA in 3 words.
Well, I had to write these down because it was such an important question. I think 3 things that spring to mind: the people, the place, and the passion, and they all kind of come together to create an absolutely amazing place to play football.
Brilliant. And the final quick-fire question: give us your all-time Aberystwyth Town 5-a-side team.
Do I have to have a goalkeeper?
Not if you've not got one written down. No, we'll go rush keepers.
Okay, we'll go Stu Roberts, absolute animal. All over the park, and training he was different gravy, different level. Sherbs, amazing technique. I've never played with someone who can pass a ball and ping a ball like he can. Barry, dogged, like win the ball back for us. Paddy then up front. I didn't understand how Paddy played. He was gangly, yet he'd score some absolute worldies. I'd see him run, and I couldn't imagine him as a football player, but put him on the pitch and put the ball in the box, and he'd make it difficult for opposition, and he'd score. I think he scored hundreds for Aberystwyth, but and then obviously myself as the linchpin, maybe the number 10 to gel it together. You can't leave
yourself out, can you?
Yeah, of course.
Just from that, just to finalise at the end here, are you still keeping in touch with Aberystwyth Town's results? Are you looking out for the results on the weekend at the moment?
Yeah.
Or when we can play?
It's probably the first results I look for. It's not just because you're here interviewing me, but I'm still following it. It's great to see again the local lads shining this year. Actually, your Jack Rimmers, your Harry Rowe. Actually, Frank Rowe was a huge influence on myself in university as my director of sport at Aberystwyth University, and he was fantastic along with Ken March. But yeah, it's great to see people like Harry Rowe playing. I was kicking a ball with him when he was 6 years old, I think, on Blind Doll Eyes. So, and then people like Steph Davis, seen him play so well. I've known him for years and seen him at different levels of the pyramid, and he's always played well, and he's been a battering ram of a striker, and I'm glad to see people like that given the chance to play, and given that chance, he's proved his influence on the team. I still keep in touch with Barry Morgan, and a good friend of mine, and we talk football more than anything else. But no, it's a place with lots of fond memories, and can't wait for the lockdown to be over, and hopefully, fingers crossed, come out to Park Avenue soon.
Yeah, well, that's everything, and I've really enjoyed our chat tonight, and
me too.
the chance to reminisce about some really good memories. So thanks very much for your time tonight, Geraint, and wish you all the best during lockdown, and we'll look forward to seeing you at Park Avenue very, very soon, hopefully.
Thank you. Diolch yn fawr.